listening to the RPM Podcast.
Listen to it with your ear holes.
And here we are again, episode 158 of the RPM Podcast. It is 11/26/2019. It's a Tuesday night, 8:40 p.m. And we've been missing a couple of weeks, but we're back now. I'm Scott Riggleman, the host of the show. At my Edge of Divorce Motorsports studio in Manchester, New Jersey. My brother Tim Riggleman, former spotter on the modified tour for Eric Goodell. We'll touch base on that real quick. Tim, how you doing up in Farmingdale?
I'm good, thank you.
And we got Josh Matthews. He's the producer of the show. Part of the reason why I've been missing for a couple of weeks, Josh was standing at exit 74 at the Parkway toll booth, just spitting on cars for some reason. So
I told you not to tell him it was me.
So if anybody went through exit 74 lately and seen some strange man spitting on cars, that was Josh Matthews. So he hasn't had time to podcast. Now, the real reason we haven't had time to podcast, I was gone. I went away for 8 or 9 days. I went down to the Florida Keys. I also made it over to Miami Homestead Speedway. Beautiful racetrack. Really had a great time in the Keys. If you've never been to the Florida Keys, I highly recommend it. I know Josh hates Florida and everything about Florida, but
oh wait, there we go.
Yeah, spending 8 days down in the Keys, we did meet some locals down there and hung out with some local people. They don't even consider themselves Florida in the Keys.
I heard Key West is a strange, interesting, fun place.
Key West is a cool place, man. The Keys themselves, is a great place. It's not overpopulated. I don't know how they keep it underpopulated like that, but there's not many people on it, and it's a beautiful place to go. It's just far away. I mean, it's far. Don't get me wrong, it's far away. I mean,
probably
it's
not much
below
work.
Miami. Yeah, I mean, Miami's far. I mean, when you drive to Florida and hit Jacksonville, you're still 10 hours or at least 8 or 9 hours from the Florida Keys. That's how far the Keys are away.
Now, did you drive out to the Keys, like that long, narrow bridge or whatever?
Yeah, it's really the only way you can get out there. We flew out of Philadelphia into Fort Lauderdale, and we rented a car. We actually got an upgrade to a Dodge Charger. I'm not a big Dodge guy, but I tell you what, that car was nice, man. It had some smoke under the hood too. A quick funny story.
Good smoke or bad smoke?
No, good smoke.
Okay.
It had some pep in its step. Let's put it this way. You can pull out in front of traffic, no problem with that car, because you just get on it and you're gone. But this is a quick funny story. We fly into Fort Lauderdale, and we get to rent a car and everything. I swear to God, this guy rented a car same time we did. He pulled out in front of us. We pulled out behind him. He didn't even exit out of the airport onto the highway. Boom, hits a car, wrecks the car right there. He didn't make it 100 yards out of the rental place to wreck the car.
Did he get the extra insurance?
I hope so. We saw 5 accidents within 2 miles of the airport, and it all looked like rental cars. Because people get into a car, and you're rushed at the airport. You're really in. You're like, all right, I'll take this car, jump in, you throw your luggage in, you boogie out of there. Well, you get out there and you start looking around, because I even noticed myself then. I'm like, all right, I ain't playing with the radio. I ain't touching nothing. I ain't touching the blinkers, cruise control, or nothing until I get out of the city. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that people get into an unfamiliar car and they just jump in and go and start messing with all the gadgets, and they don't pay attention, and they just run into stuff. But down there, you could tell rental cars, they're all like Dodge Chargers. Convertible Mustangs is another popular one, and we saw 5 of them wrecked right outside the airport. And I told Nancy, I said, my goal this whole 8 days is not to put one scratch in this car. And I was also warned by Shannon Kaluth, Ryan's mother that races the quarter midget.
Yeah.
They go to the Keys every year, and we got some tips from them about the Keys and what to do down there. And she told me flat out, she's like, Scott, do not have one drink down there and drive, and do not speed down there, because it's one of those towns where it goes from 55 to 35 to 55 to 45 to 35, So my whole goal was not to put one scratch in the rental car and not to get one ticket. So I drove like an old man the whole time down there, but 10 and 2, seatbelt on, did the speed limit. But what a great trip down there. But yeah, going back to the Keys, like, it's funny. We stayed in Isla Morada, which is about everything's my. You know how here everything's what exit are you off the Parkway?
Yeah.
Down there, there's one road. It's Route 1 that goes all the way down through the Keys. It's what mile marker you're at. So Miami's like, I think it's like 110 miles long. So, say like Miami's like 110 miles. And then, of course, Key West is 0. Well, we stayed at mile marker 88. That's Isla Morada.
Okay.
So getting to know some of the locals down there, and we were talking to them, and they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from up north." They're like, "Where? Miami?" Like Miami's north to them. And if you're from Orlando and you're down in the Keys, you might as well be from Canada. Like, that's how far away from. Yeah, that's the way they are down there. Like they don't even like. They're saying, going back to the States, and they mean Miami. Like they just consider them like tropical islands down there. Like it's barely even a part of Florida. But yeah, we were 88 miles north of Key West, but we did on Saturday morning, we drove down there. We drove all the way down to the Keys, to Key West from Isla Morada, which was cool because we ate breakfast at the hotel and then we drove down there, but we took our time. Our goal was just to be down there at sunset because that's what Key West is famous for, is the sunset down there. It's like the best place in the world to watch the sunset or something like that.
Okay.
So, we stopped in all the islands on the way down. We stopped in Marathon and had lunch in Marathon. And, they're famous for that. The bridge you were talking about, Josh, is the 7 Mile Bridge. It's the longest bridge in the Keys. That's real famous. It's been in a lot of movies. It was in that movie with Jamie Lee Curtis and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What was that? A True Lies? No. Yes.
True Lies.
Yeah.
True Lies. The Keys are real famous for that movie. That bridge is real famous because in the scene they actually blow a section of that bridge up and stuff.
Was that
like
repaired when you got there?
You know what? It's not, because there's 2 bridges. There's the old bridge and the new bridge, and the reason they did that movie is because the new bridge was pretty much done, so they got to blow up the old bridge.
Right.
And basically it's a fishing pier now, and so yeah, that section's still out of the bridge, and they wanted that section out anyway because the reason they built the new bridge is to make it higher so the boats can get under it. So they had to take a section of that bridge out anyway so the boats can get through. So that's why it happened, Yeah, but real cool down there. We drove down to Key West, and I didn't know what to expect when I got to Key West. I didn't really study any of it, and it's a cool old town. Like it's a lot of history in that town. Like
did you end up wearing a tutu?
No.
I know that's popular there.
But it is known, it's a very strong gay culture down there too, and everybody wears their rainbows and stuff. And I was talking to a lot of people down there, and a lot of people were coming up to me and talking to me, and I realized I was wearing my Simpson backpack, and on the back, it's the backpack I showed you guys, the black one with the orange and yellow and red stripes in the back, but that kind of resembles a rainbow. So I think some of the people that were talking to me thought I was wearing a rainbow on my backpack, But yeah, what a great town. Like when we first pulled into Key West, I'm like, I ain't gonna like this, because like I said, all the other islands in the Keys, they weren't overpopulated, plenty of room to breathe, not a lot of people. Well, when we pulled into Key West, it was packed. It was tight. Like there was like commercialized businesses there. Like where we stayed, there was like one McDonald's. Like there wasn't like any Wawas or Quick Checks or Wawas, McDonald's, Burger Kings. That stuff really didn't exist where we were in the Keys. But when we pulled into Key West, all that stuff was there. I'm like, here's the commercialized part of the Keys is Key West. But it was just one section. And when we actually got into Key West, where everybody hangs out, it got real historic. It's all old houses from like the 1800s, old wooden houses with the big storm shutters. Like we put the fake ones on our houses up here. They're real storm shutters where they close and lock and protect the house from the storms. And I didn't know there was a lot of history there. And Nancy knows I like American history. So there was a lot to learn there. I mean, Ernest Hemingway's house was there, the famous author, writer and all that stuff. We went to his house, checked his house out, and just a lot of places like that, and it's cool. There's this place called Duval Street. It's a long street. It's about 2 or 3 miles long, and it's nothing but bars, restaurants, art museums, gift shops, antique shops, and you walk that street for miles, and you just go into all these stores and stuff. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun.
You actually walked it. So what, you just found a parking lot and then kind of just strolled?
Yeah, we had Jimmy Buffett, the famous singer Jimmy Buffett. He has a Margaritaville there. a big hotel, Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, and he has a parking garage. Yeah, it was
Was there a
$4.
cheeseburger in Paradise too, or?
Oh, well, he did have a restaurant. We went there too, and you can get a cheeseburger in Paradise.
Okay.
He had a parking garage there. We parked in his parking garage. It wasn't bad. It was $4 an hour to park, and a max of $36. So if you parked there all day, all night, it was $36. We stayed long enough where we had to pay the $36. But yeah, you just walked right out of that parking garage, right at his hotel, and you're right there. You're at the. There's a big market square. I forget the name of it, but it's like a big market square. And another place, all shops, and there's like street performers. Like people banging on buckets and people juggling and stuff, stuff like that, like city type stuff. But that's where the cruise ships come in the port, and there was a cruise ship in there, and all the people were getting off the cruise ship to go into the town, and that's where the sunset is. So we watched the sunset there. A lot of weddings. There was a lot of weddings going on. It's real popular for weddings and stuff. So there's a lot of weddings going on, getting their pictures taken and stuff with the sunset.
So the sunset was good? You had good weather?
We didn't have great weather. No, it was a little cloudy. It was a little windy, but we did get to see the sunset, but it was a little cloudy. I mean, I'm sure there was nicer sunsets than we saw, but we got the gist of it, and we could definitely tell it was definitely cool. And then because I'm a truck driver, I've been a truck driver all my life. When I went to San Francisco, I actually got to see the other side of Route 80. You know how Route 80 starts in New York City by the George Washington Bridge?
Okay.
Well, it ends in San Francisco. So I've always been on this side of Route 80. So when we went to San Francisco in California, I got to see where 80 starts, Right. This time, I'm a truck driver, and I'm always on Route 1, which is 95, Route 9, 9 and 1, 95, I got to see the very end of Route 1, mile marker 0. So that was pretty cool. So there's a sign there you can stand by. People pull their cars up. It's real big for the motorcycle people. Motorcycle people pull up and get their picture taken by mile marker 0. Then if you walk to the other end of that street, which is about a 2-mile walk, but that walk takes you past like Hemingway's house and everything like that. And there's some like big old famous trees, and there's all sorts of history stuff like pirate stories and stuff like that. So we walked to the very, very end, and that's the southernmost point of the United States. That's where that buoy looking thing is. That's all painted.
Okay.
And it says southernmost point of the United States, 90 miles to Cuba. It's a real famous place to get your picture taken and everything. So we stood there and got our picture taken with that. And then you can see all the cables. Like there's like this like old like cement guard shack there, and there's a placard on it that tells you the story. And you can see all these cables going into the ocean. Well, that's where the first cables were put in for the telephone to go to Cuba for their first, phone call outside of America. And it tells you the whole story. And at the very end was the conversation went like this. It said, "Hello, Cuba. This is America calling. Can you hear us?" And then it said there was a long pause. And all they said back was like, "We can't understand you." That's the famous phone call. So yeah, that was the southernmost point, but it was kind of, it sucked that we walked all the way down. It was a long walk, but the good thing about it was then you go one block over and then you're on the bottom end of that Duval Street. So then we walked our way all the way back up Duval Street to our hotel to get our car again.
Okay. So
which was a all day thing because we stopped at some jazz bar, and there was some 16-year-old, he was good. His name was Sheldon. If you want to check him out, is on Facebook. It's Sheldon Key West. And you just look that up on Facebook. And it comes up. Kid was 16 years old, sat on stage with a guitar and just played music. And I made a couple requests, and he's like, "I don't know that song. I don't know that song." He's like, "You got to remember, I'm only 16 years old." I'm like, "All right, we'll play something from SpongeBob." So he did like this. He started playing this SpongeBob song and stuff like that. But he was real good. He was real good. And then we walked further up and stuff like that, and we just spent all day on the street. But then we get to this popular bar, and you guys might have heard of it. It's called Sloppy Joe's. It's like the original bar in Key West. It's been there since like the early 1900s. It's the famous bar, right? So we walk into Sloppy Joe's, and there's a band playing. It's Shorty Long. Josh, you ever hear Shorty Long?
Uh-huh.
They're a Jersey rock band, Jersey party band. They call themselves the New Jersey Party Band. Well, the New Jersey Party Band was playing in Key West at Sloppy Joe's. So we go in there, and we had it was me, Nancy, and Nancy's friend Patty. Patty lives in Tampa, and she drove down to hang out with us.
Okay.
They were drinking. I was driving, so I was the designated driver. I'm the guy that carries the jackets and gets the drinks and everything. The girls were having fun. Well, next thing I know, I'm at the bar getting Nancy and her friend Patty a drink, and they're out on the dance floor. I hear the singer Shorty Long saying, "Oh, we got Fancy Nancy in the house, driver of the factory stock from Wall Stadium." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "All right, whatever, you know." So I'm like, "Nancy, what did you say something to him?" He's like, "No." She's like, "No, I didn't say nothing to him. He just called my name out and started talking about me." I'm like, "Oh, really? That's cool." So they, you know, how the bands play like a few songs and then they take a break, you know, and they come off stage, you know. Well, we were standing there and he came down off stage. It was Shorty. If people don't know, Shorty Long's a great band, and they're a Jersey band. The reason I know them is because, you know, the name of the band is Shorty Long, and then their logo is like, it looks like a handicap parking sign with a wheelchair on it. You know, it's white and blue with the wheelchair on it. Well, the lead singer and the leader of the band is in a wheelchair, and that's why they call it Shorty Long. He's real short and he's in a wheelchair. Well, the guy that was mentioned, Nancy, to the crowd was he's the vocalist and bass player, right? So Shorty Long, the guy in the wheelchair, sings too, but his guy's name was John. That shout out Nancy's name out. He was also the vocalist and bass player. Well, when they take a break, he comes over to us. He's like, "Oh man, it's great you guys are here." I'm like, "Well, how do you know us?" He's like, "Oh, you guys race at Wall Stadium. I watch you guys race at Wall Stadium. I follow you guys on Facebook. You know, I love the factory stock division. You know, like he knew racing from Wall Stadium. He recognized Nancy in the crowd and called her out." So I thought it was pretty cool that we were 1,400 miles from home and someone recognized us from the racing. You know,
well,
so we got talking.
Didn't you also have to buy another former driver lunch?
A former driver lunch? Oh, Paul Ulrich's dad?
Yeah. Scrappy?
Yeah, Scrappy. Herschel. I got to see Herschel 1,400 miles from home to hang out with Herschel. But yeah, that was fun too. I had fun hanging out with Herschel down there too. But so anyway, we got talking to him, you know, and he says how he likes the races, but he can't go as much as he likes because they always play on Saturday nights and stuff like that. And I got talking to him. I'm like, "How'd you guys end up down here playing?" You know? And he said they played in Long Beach Island, and someone from the management from Sloppy Joe's was up in Jersey on vacation and saw him playing and said, "Hey man, I want to get you down to my bar in Key West." And they worked out a deal. I guess money-wise, to make it worth their while to go down there, they had to play 5 or 6 nights, and they did. They played from like Wednesday to Sunday or something down there every night down there, and they had the place packed. And he's like, "Oh man, we got to work something out where I can put our band on your race cars." I'm like, "Yeah, we can do like a cross promotion or something. You don't have to give us money or nothing. You know, we'll just do some type of cross promotion." You know? He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You know, when I play the bars up in the Jersey Shore, I can promote you guys, or you guys can bring the race cars to the bars, and you know, we'll put your name on the car and we cross promote." I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." So then they go back up there and they start the next set and they're playing. And then once he said, he's like, "Oh man, we're glad to have Riggleman Racing in the house. They're getting ready for their annual turkey derby." And everybody starts cheering. Like the place was packed, man. I mean, it was absolutely mobbed. It was packed. And every time he said turkey derby, everybody started cheering. I'm like, these people don't know what turkey derby is way down here. But it was just really cool. But there was a lot of racing people down there in the Keys. We've seen a lot of racing shirts and everything like that from Miami. You know, it's a shame that they're moving that race from Miami. You know, the championship race. I know they're going to race in March. You know, they didn't lose their date, but it just seemed like a great place to end the season because a lot of the people after that race weekend is over, they just go right down to the Keys. Like they make it like the end of the year vacation, you know. And it had a race presence down there, even though in the Key West you're 120 miles from the racetrack, south of the racetrack. But there was still like every restaurant we saw, every bar we saw, every hotel, you know, we saw something like welcome race fans signs and everything like that, you know, and just walking the strip down there and stuff. We've seen people wearing shirts and jackets, you know, racing stuff. And the singer from Shorty Long, you know, we hung out with those guys all night talking to him. He said that the night before Dale Jr. and Steve Letarte were in Sloppy Joe's and stuff like that. And he said in the course of the week he did see some other race car drivers down there and stuff like that, and some crew members and stuff like that. So no, it's definitely cool. As far as the track goes itself, I was telling Nancy, and Nancy's been to a lot of racetracks too, and me and Tim been to millions of racetracks all over this country. I mean, we've been doing it since we were kids. And let me tell you something. That Miami Homestead racetrack is the nicest racetrack I ever been to in my life. I can't believe how nice that racetrack is. Number one is the weather. The weather helps. You know, you have a track up north, you know, that gets snowed on all winter down there. The weather's nice all the time. And just the natural terrain down there, it's just flat. You know, there's no like hills or rocks or nothing to deal with. Like the parking lot's just a big, flat, grassy parking lot. The camping area was this big, flat, you know, there's no hills or nothing. Like you go to Bristol and try to find a level spot to put your camper, and it's almost impossible. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, Bristol is a beautiful countryside racetrack, but it's in a valley and it's hilly. It's hard to find a place to put your camper and make it level. Yeah. There, it's just everything's level. I mean, it's just level, you know. There's palm trees, there's beautiful grass, there's like water, you know. It's just a beautiful area to build a racetrack. So that's one thing they got going for them. The other thing, I think Ford puts a lot of money into that track because it's, you know, it's Ford's championship weekend, sponsored by Ford.
Yeah.
It's just everything's so up to date. It's so clean. It was just,
so the like bathrooms. There was no urinal trough.
No, nothing like that. Beautiful bathrooms, bathroom attendants. It was like being in the mall. Like when we walked into the pits, there was like shops and stores and restaurants. You know, it was like walking into the mall. I'm like, how's this place make enough money with one race weekend to keep this going? But you know, I'm sure other stuff happens there during the year, like, you know, road racing and like Richard Petty driving experiences and stuff like that. But man, what a beautiful, beautiful racetrack. It was super, super nice. I always thought like, I don't like them finishing the race season down there because it's so far away, and a lot of like Spanish culture down there and Cuban culture down that way, and they're not really race fans down there. But then once I was down there, I seen that it is a good destination race for fans all over America. You know, a lot of people do flock down there. We met people from Philadelphia, Ohio, a lot of Ohio people, man, a lot of people from Ohio, Canada, you know, a lot of people do go down there just for that race. And like I said, they go for the race and then they go into the Keys. It's almost like perfect for a race fan that has a wife that may not like racing in that much, but he could be like, hey, let's go to Miami Homestead for the race weekend. And then when the race is over, we'll go to the Keys. You know what I'm saying? So like now the wife's like, all right, I'll go sit through the race weekend. He'll enjoy that, and then we'll go to the Keys. You know, we've seen a lot of that. You know, it's kind of fun. We only made it to the racetrack for the truck race, which was cool because we got to see Danny Bone, former guest on here, Danny Bone, right from Freehold, New Jersey. He was racing that race, so we got to see him and talk to him for a little while. We saw Phil Gould. We got to hang out with Phil Gould. You know, he was on our show. He was racing for a championship with Ross Chastain as his crew chief. And we got to see Bruce Cook. Bruce Cook was crew chief for Jesse Little down there, Chet Little's son. And they qualified for the race, and they actually ran pretty good in the race too. He went from like dead last to like 17th, 16th, real quick. You know, he got up there real quick, but that's where he leveled off at. He stayed right around 16th and 17th the whole race, but finished the race and had a good race. The one downfall of that racetrack, Josh, picture a Dover on steroids.
Okay.
The track looked just like Dover, banked, you know, same size corners, banks, you know, same size straightaways, you know, not like a funky oval like Darlington or something like that, like a perfect oval, you know.
Okay.
Just like Dover, but Dover's a mile. This track's 1.5 miles, so it's a little bit bigger than Dover. Unfortunately, it races just like Dover, and it gets a little strung out, and the race itself gets a little boring. I know when the stage racing first came out, none of us really liked the stage racing, but after being at a race like that where it gets strung out, we couldn't wait for a stage to come out and group them back together. When you go to a race in person, you really understand the stage racing a little bit more, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah, it definitely helped that race.
Now, do you think it would have been a little bit better if Homestead was in its original configuration, like Indy?
I heard they were wrecking too hard when it was like Indy. That's why they stopped doing it. Some people almost got killed, or someone might even got killed down there. But they were just hitting the wall way too hard. Someone was telling us that was like this is like the third configuration of the track. They've changed it 2 or 3 times, and they said they even missed a year down there because the track was getting reconfigured. No, I mean the track had different grooves of racing, and it's a beautiful track, and it gets spread out, just like Dover. I mean, Dover gets spread out too, and sometimes it gets boring, you know. But is it a fast racetrack like Dover? Yeah, I mean, it was super fast. They were hauling the mail around there. When they were together and bunched up, it was exciting. But the problem is, after 10, 15 laps, they get spread out, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they can do to change that, but the racing product of itself on the track was I hate saying it was bad, but it just got stretched out. It got a little boring. Yeah, it got a little boring. The funny thing is we had the best pass you can actually have in racing. Like, we had a hot pass, Monster Energy Cup Series hot passes through NASCAR, not through a team, through NASCAR. We could have went anywhere we wanted in the racetrack. We had all access passes, and unfortunately we only made it there Friday. Our plan was to go there Friday for the truck race because we wanted to see Bruce and Phil Gould and Danny Bone. Also, we were there with all Stuart Friesen's people. We actually had a barbecue, a tailgate party in the parking lot with Kevin Ayers and all those guys and all the Stuart Friesen people, which was fun. We had a great time in the parking lot with that. And we thought we were going to get kicked out. It was raining. You know, you guys seen on TV it was raining. So we were in the parking lot having a big tailgate party. I mean, Kevin really put on a good spread. He really had a lot of food there and stuff like that. Well, there's a go-kart. You would have liked this, Josh. There's a go-kart track right in the parking lot. And I think it was $25 for like a 10-lap race or something like that. But these go-karts did 45 miles an hour.
Okay.
And they had a big oval in the parking lot. It was cool, but it was raining. There was people out there in the rain, but it was raining. Well, anyway, one part of the go-kart track had like this big tent set up. I guess during the week they have like classes and stuff where you sit under the tent and stuff like that. We set up our barbecue under the tent. We just kind of commandeered it and took it over. And we thought we were going to get thrown out because we seen a couple of security guards walking over, and just a lot of quick thinking by all the people hanging out there. We just started offering them food. Hey, you guys want a burger? You guys want a hot dog? You guys want some chips and stuff? So they started eating food with us. So they just hung out with us too. So it was pretty cool. We had a great time there. Our plan was to go to the truck race Friday night. We had 2 shots to make it into victory lane for the championship, through Phil Gould with Ross Chastain and with Stuart Friesen. Unfortunately, those guys didn't win. Matt Crafton ended up winning. There was a little controversy there because a lot of people were making a big deal out of it that he won the championship and never won a race all year. How do you feel about that, Josh?
Well, all right. I'm fine with it personally, and that's because everybody all these older folks are complaining that it wasn't playoffs back in the day. It was points. It was a championship and all. Well, you still could have done it then.
Still could have done it then.
You don't have to. If you finish second in every race, and with different people winning. I mean, yeah, it sucks that you didn't win, but you could still win the championship.
I tell you what, he almost won that race that night. He was flying that night. And I think it was Austin Hill. I think just late in the race, Austin Hill got a little bit faster than him and was able to beat him. But Matt Crafton had one hell of a race. And him and Stuart Friesen were really going at it for a while.
Yeah.
It bothered me at first. I'm kind of like one of those old guys you're talking about that complain about the different point systems. And I think I even mentioned this one time on the air with you guys, but it bothered me until I heard an interview with Richard Petty. And Richard Petty said, listen, I won 7 championships under 5 different point systems. So I'm like, all right, well, this has been going on forever then, Mm-hmm. And like he said, he's like, you can look at the old point system and be like, all right, well, if the old point system was still in place, this guy would have won. Yeah, but you're not playing that game, You're not playing with those rules. So everybody's racing under that rules and that point system, and they're playing to win under that point system, not the old point system. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean,
it was weird when we were down there the whole time. No one even mentioned Matt Crafton as being able to win that championship. It really, from the outside looking in, it was really Stuart Friesen and who's the other one in there? Who was it?
Chastain.
It was yeah, there were the two. It was basically between
Okay.
Stuart Freeze and Chastain. And let me tell you something. Ross Chastain, we all know as the Florida watermelon farmer.
Yeah.
Man, what a presence did he have there. Everybody we saw down there was wearing Ross Chastain shirts. There was a guy walking around like in a green suit and like a red shirt underneath it, and it looked like a big watermelon. He had this big hat on that said Watermelon Man, and he was walking around, and they had like this. And we seen Ross Chastain all over the place. We seen him on the grandstand side because it was a rain delay, so he had a couple hours to kill because it took him 2 hours to drive the track. We saw Ross Chastain this is right before the race, like over in the grandstands talking to people. We seen him all over in the pits. Everybody had Ross Chastain watermelon shirts on down there. Like I even said to Nancy, I said if he doesn't win this, it's going to be a shame because he's got a lot of people here, and he ended up not winning it. You know. Ross Chastain was definitely the hometown favorite down there, and everybody was pulling for Ross. And he was in the beginning of the race, he was gone. He was flying, and then he just got slower towards the end, and everybody else got faster. You know.
Yeah.
But like I said, our plan was that we weren't going to go to the Xfinity race. We were planning on went to the truck race. We planned on going to Key West for Saturday, and then going back to the Cup race for Sunday because Martin Truex Jr. had a chance at winning the championship, so we wanted to go be there for that. But we had such a good time down in Key West. We didn't get back to Isla Morada till like 5 a.m. Our plan was to get up at 10 a.m. and head back up to Miami to go to the racetrack. I was up at 10 a.m. and I'm like, yeah, I'll take a shower and get ready to go. And I said, Nancy, you want to go to the races? She's like, no, I'm good right here. And we stayed at the resort and watched the race right at the resort. You know, we never made it back up there, but it was just weird because I kind of felt bad because we had these great passes, and I'm like, the average race fan would kill for a pass like this, and here we are. We don't even want to drive 60 miles to go back to the racetrack. You know,
you're watching it from within the state.
yeah. We weren't even 60 miles there. It's pretty cool, Josh. The very last exit in Miami, there's a red light. It was West 344th Street.
Okay.
If you're coming out of the Keys, there's a famous biker bar called Last Chance Bar.
Okay.
That was on the left-hand side when you came out of the Keys, and the first light you come to here is West 334th Street. Well, that was the back way into the track, and a local told us about that. We didn't have to go up to the Florida Turnpike. We made the right on that and took us right into the back side of the racetrack, so we beat all the traffic in. But that Last Chance Bar, that's the last bar before you get into the Keys. And as soon as you pass that Last Chance Bar, you're in the Florida Everglades.
Okay.
And they call it the 18-mile stretch. It's just a stretch of Everglades, nothing else.
Wow.
There's nothing but swamps on both sides of you. And then when you get through that 18 miles, so you got to make sure you have gas. It's like the last chance to get gas, last chance to, get something to eat. It's 18 miles through the Everglades before you see anything. And then when you come out of the Everglades, you're in Key Largo. That's where Key Largo is.
Okay.
Yeah, we stayed at Mile Market. We were probably about 30 miles from the track, 30 or 40 miles to the racetrack. It didn't take us long to get to the track from Isla Morada where we were staying. But yeah, we didn't make it back. And then like halfway through the race, I'm like, man, because they started showing the sunset up there and everything like that. I'm like, man, I wish we would have went back, but we didn't make it back up there. But at least I did get to go to the track on Friday and check it all out. It was definitely a cool track, and I would like to go back, but unfortunately now it's in March, and I don't think I'll make it back there because usually I'm busy trying to get my own race and stuff going,
Yeah.
But a lot of people seem bummed that the race is getting moved. It's getting moved to Phoenix, which is kind of cool, I guess. It's another warm climate racetrack, and they just redid that track too. They put a ton of money into that track, updating that track. So I think that's part of the reason why they're moving it over to that.
Do you think the racing action is going to be better there?
I like Phoenix. I just don't like how they cut through the middle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, some racetracks you have out of bounds, and if you go 1 foot over the yellow line, you get disqualified. Here, they're like racing in the infield. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of like that about it, just because
Yeah,
you don't know what they're going to do.
And every year I should know it by now, but every year when I tune in and they do it, you're like, oh my God, what are they doing? It takes you by surprise.
It just looks so wrong.
Yeah, it looks so wrong. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's right. It's Phoenix. They do that here, But some of the rumors floating around down there in Miami or down there is NASCAR wants to move the race every year now, like the Super Bowl, like the championship race be at a different track every year, like the Super Bowl.
There's with them ending in November, it's not going to work. I mean, you're
Well,
not going to see Dover at the.
Yeah, I mean, same with the Super Bowl. They try to keep them in warm climate states, and sometimes they will bring them into the cold climate.
Yeah.
But,
Let's
here we
see
are
it
getting ready
at
for Turkey Derby.
Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and with a sheet of ice or something.
I mean, I can remember when September 11th happened, when 9/11 happened. New Hampshire got canceled, and they rescheduled for Thanksgiving weekend, and everybody thought it was crazy to race up in New Hampshire on Thanksgiving weekend, and it ended up being a beautiful weekend up there.
Right,
It ended up being a great race, and a little side note on that, it was Robbie Gordon's only Cup win on a oval track, that weekend. I mean, you can have bad weather anywhere. I mean, I was in the Sunshine State of Florida sitting under a rain delay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm fine with them moving it around every year, but I also like them. Sometimes I like building a fan base for the one race because people make plans on that. Like a lot of people we met, like we've been coming to this race for 19 years, and we like it because we can go to the race and then hit the keys.
Well, that's like what a lot of people go to the Southern 500. They plan
Right.
for that race.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, there's no way the Daytona 500 will ever get moved,
Right.
because it's too iconic. So I guess unless they find something equally iconic to finish the season with, yeah, I mean, maybe it will be better to move it around at least for a while and
Yeah.
see what happens. I don't know. I'm not sure what the
I just think it's kind of weird. Now we have Daytona 500 mid-February, and then we go right back to Miami Homestead a month later. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the Northeast fans have already been to Florida. I don't know if they'll go back in March. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then again, we met a girl on a scuba diving trip down there. Snorkeling, I should say. We didn't scuba dive. We snorkeled. We met a girl. We started talking to her because she was on the boat by herself, and she was drinking a beer, and she had one of those, what do they call it, the coolies or whatever, that slip over the beer.
Oh, okay, yeah, the koozies.
Koozies, yeah, and it was a Ryan Blaney one, so I assumed she was a race fan. So we started talking to her, and she said, yeah, she's a Ryan Blaney fan. She lives in Philadelphia, and she flew down by herself to go to the races, and she's one of the people that stayed after the races and went into the Keys and enjoyed the Keys while she was down there. And she was telling us that she's going back in March. I said, it kind of sucks. They moved the race, from here to Phoenix. I said, would you come back in March? She said, oh, yeah, I'm going to the Daytona 500, and then I'm coming back here in March. I said, well, I'm surprised you're coming back here in March if you're going to the 500. It's only like a month apart. And you know what her reason was for going back in March?
It's too cold up here?
No. Dale Jr.'s last Xfinity race.
Okay.
He announced that weekend too that he was going to race. The Xfinity race, and she said she wanted to go see Dale Jr.'s last race. She said she went up to Darlington too to watch him race. So, I mean, some people have crazy reasons for doing stuff, and like we don't think about it. Like I want to fly 1,200 miles to go watch Dale Jr.'s last race, but he's a draw. She wants to go watch. If it's going to be his last race, she wants to go to it. So that's her reasons for she's going. Another cool, quick side note on this girl. Not only did she go to the races by herself, I asked her where she stayed in Miami, and she showed me pictures. She did the Airbnb thing.
Okay.
And she stayed in a converted school bus on like some type of plantation. Like it was a school bus, but it was all done inside. She had an outside bathroom and shower, and it was chilly down there in the morning too, And so she stayed in an Airbnb in like an old converted school bus, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah.
She should have gone down with Toilette then.
I tell you what, she showed us pictures of the bus from the outside at first, and I'm like, ooh, God. Then she showed us the inside of the bus. It was really nice.
Wow.
It was really set up nice inside it.
Well,
but
it's
like I said, the only downfall.
Those homes that they build out of the old shipping containers.
Yeah.
And, it looks like a bunch of boxes or whatever. When you get inside and what they can do with it is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then she said the only downfall was she showed us the outside shower and the bathrooms, and it was nice. But like I said, it was chilly in the morning when you woke up down there, so she had a
Yeah.
shower outside. It was kind of cold out, and she had to do that. She said that was the only downfall, but other than that, it worked out perfect. But she was on like some 1,300-acre plantation of some sort down there, and it was pretty cool. She shows all the pictures and stuff, and we got talking to her, and like I said, she lives right over in Philly, and she's gonna come to Turkey Derby. She's gonna come Sunday if it doesn't rain for Turkey Derby. She has to work Friday. She's gonna come Sunday and watch us race, so that's pretty
Oh, that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one more butt in the seats.
You know what? She's one of those people that loves NASCAR racing, but has never been to a short track. So we're gonna try to
Okay.
get her into short track racing. She doesn't live. She heard of Grandview Speedway. She doesn't live far from there. She doesn't live far from Bridgeport. She doesn't live far from Wall. I said, you gotta come check out some short track racing.
Yeah.
You've been to all this big track stuff, and I'm coming to check out short track stuff. She's like, yeah, I'll come watch you guys race. She's real into it, so that's cool.
Good.
She wasn't real into the scuba diving now or snorkeling. She only came off the boat a little bit, and she saw an eel and ran right back on the boat. Josh, you ever gone snorkeling?
No, I haven't.
Tim, you ever been snorkeling? You look like the snorkeling type.
I bet he has.
Yeah, I've been snorkeling.
Sure. I tell you what, snorkeling is pretty cool. We went out on this boat. Boat was huge. It was a huge boat. It holds like 75 people. There was only like 16 people on the boat because, like I said, it was a little chilly out. So they take you out to this coral reef. And at first, it was cool going out on the boat because the water's so clear. We saw dolphins and stuff on the way out from the boat, and you can see into the water right from the boat. So I'm like, there's really no sense even getting off the boat. You can see right into the water all the way down to the ground from the boat,
Yeah.
So at first I was even a little hesitant. It wasn't chilly, but it was chilly. Yeah, it was like 74, 75 on the water. And they're telling us they're like, the water's 85. The water's actually warmer than the air. So you're actually going to warm up going in the water, So, we paid a lot of money to go out on the boat. So I said, you know what, Nancy, I'm going in. Nancy went right in. She's done snorkeling before and she loved it. So I went in right after her. And at first I was just swimming around. I'm like, this ain't really nothing special. She's like, Scott, go underwater. As soon as I put my head underwater, I'm like, oh my God. It was like being in outer space. It was so cool. There's so many different fish, like all different colors. You're on the coral reef. And the kid who worked the boat, he used to race too. Yeah, he
Really?
knew Cody Connor. He used to race Bandoleros and stuff with Cody Connor up at Concord and stuff like that. And he said he made it up to like the late model division. And then he was trying to get in the K&N car, but he didn't have enough money. So we got talk racing. So he gave me some pointers about when I got on the reef. He's like, swim on top of the reef for a little while, but then go to the edge because the reef's like 10 foot down. But if you get to the edge of the reef, it's like 25 foot down. And like you see the whole wall of the reef, and then you can see the clean sand on the bottom. And that's where all the life is, like all the fish are on the wall. So me and Nancy were swimming around and we're looking at the reef. And when I first put my head under, I'm like, wow, I'm glad I came in the water because you can see a lot better than from the boat.
Yeah.
So then I swim to the edge of the reef and I go under, and like I said, it's like a 25-foot drop and stuff like that. And I was fine until I got to the bottom where the coral reef meets the sand, and like this 10-foot eel came out from underneath the reef. I'm like, oh boy. So I go back up to the surface and tell Nancy there's a huge eel under here. But by the time I put my head back under, he went back under the coral. They sucked right back in. And then I see two sharks, nurse sharks, not like Jaws or nothing like that, but two nurse sharks. And so I yell out two sharks. And well, there's like 20 people in the water. So now they all swim over to see the sharks, And then so then Nancy's swimming under, and when I poked my head back in, there was like 30 barracuda.
Whoa.
They're teeth. And I'm like, man, it's barracuda, don't swim over here. She swam right through them. Like they weren't even there, like went right through the school of barracuda, and they kind of parted the ways. I'm like, man, you got lucky there. They're barracuda with big teeth sticking out,
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was definitely an experience. I definitely enjoyed the snorkel, and it was really, really cool. Sea turtles, saw a lot of sea turtles, like big sea turtles, like the size of Volkswagen type sea turtles and
Wow.
swimming under there, Yeah, that was definitely cool. That was definitely a good experience, and then talking to one of the guys that worked the snorkel on boats, and me and him were talking about racing and stuff like that. And he actually lives down there, and he said he would drive up to like Orlando Speed World and New Smyrna and everything like that to race from down there, which was quite a bit of a hike to go racing,
Yeah.
And he said, his dream was to be a NASCAR driver. he knew William Byron. He raced with William Byron and stuff like that. He's friends with him. He said he made it to like a couple of K&N races, but then ran out of money. So now he's working on a snorkeling boat in the Keys, which ain't a bad deal either. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Do they get tips?
Oh yeah, we tipped them. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We tipped them $20 actually. You know, yeah, they definitely work for tips there, and they made sure you knew it too. They told you every 5 minutes. Um, Nah, but it was definitely cool. If you ever go to the Keys, definitely take a snorkeling trip. Number one, like that girl from Philadelphia that was a race fan, she doesn't really like the water, and she only went in the water because we kind of talked her into going, and she only lasted about 2 minutes in the water.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just want to go out on the boat. You know, it was $60 a person for the snorkeling trip. So for $60, you got a boat ride, 3-hour boat ride. That's the way she looked at it. You know, she saw dolphins and, like I said, you can see a lot of it from the top anyway,
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't even go in the water. They just go for the boat ride, which is cool too. I mean, the water, the popular thing about the Keys is like, it's very narrow. It's very narrow. And the Atlantic Ocean is on one side and the Gulf of Mexico is on the other side.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're kind of like in both, you go to the left, you're in the Atlantic Ocean, you go to the right, you're in the Gulf of Mexico, and the fish are amazing down there,
So I just picture Homer Simpson at the what was it, the embassy? Australia, America, Australia, America.
And they got something down there called I tell you what, by day 3 I was so sick of seafood though, like everywhere. It's just it's everywhere. You know what's weird down there? Seafood's cheaper than like a salad. Salad's very expensive down there. Like for a nice salad, it's like $20 down there.
Okay.
I guess they got to truck the lettuce in, and it's a perishable item. Where the fish are everywhere. There's so much fish down there. They call it hook and cook. Like you can catch a fish, and you just bring it right into the restaurant, and they cook it for you and serve it to you.
Okay.
Like you walk into a restaurant with your own fish, and they just make it for you. You buy your drinks and side dishes from them. It's pretty cool. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
I was eating a lot of one big thing down there is the conch. Conch's real big.
Okay.
It's all conch chowder, conch fritters, stuff like that. And I was eating it at first. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll have the conch chowder, I'll have the conch fritters. They were good. And like my brother said, in Florida, everything's deep fried down there. They deep fry everything down there. And
except for peanuts.
So yeah, they boil them, unfortunately. Yeah. But anyway, we're at this one bar hanging out, and I said to the waiter, I said, "What is a conch anyway? What is it? Is it a fish? I just thought it was like a big fish, And he's like, "No, conch. You know what conch is? Like, a conch shell. You're a kid, you hold the big shell up to your ear, and you can hear the ocean. That's a conch." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. Conch shells. I remember them when I was a kid." So then he shows me a picture of one. He's like, "Yeah, we caught a bunch the other day. Check it out." It's a big snail, slug-looking thing, I just pushed my conch chowder over to him. I said, "Hey, go get me some clam chowder." I was done with conch. After seeing a picture of it, I'm like, I'm not eating that stuff no more. I'm done with conch for the rest of the week down here. It was a big slug, sea slug. And he said the reason they're so popular down there is because you literally just dive in 10 or 15 foot of water, and they're all over the place. You just pick them up. Just a big shellfish. You just pick them up. So yeah, that's it. That's my Florida trip story. We had a great time down there.
Did you get a hold of Barney Truex while you were down there?
Yeah, I did, through Paul Herwick's dad, through Herschel. Herschel worked for Barney Truex, and unfortunately, Barney had a few strokes, and he's not allowed to fly anymore. I guess once you have a stroke or something like that, it's not a good idea to fly anymore. So they actually drive Barney down there. Barney also has a beautiful house in Isla Mirada, and our resort was right around the corner from their house. And so they got Barney a motorhome, and they drive Barney down in a motorhome to get down to his Florida house. And Herschel drives him down there. So I messaged Herschel and said, "Hey, you want to go out to lunch?" So we picked him up at Barney's house, and we went to Barney's house, and we talked to Barney for a while, and Barney's doing good. Talked a little bit about racing, but talking mainly about fishing. He still loves to fish and everything. If a lot of people don't know, Barney Truex is Martin Truex Jr.'s uncle, and Barney always had the most beautiful modifieds that ever raced at Wall Street. They're the beautiful orange 59 modifieds, and he's a big supporter of racing for a very, very long time in our area. And it was good to see him. He's doing well. He's doing a lot better than I thought. After having a few strokes, tell you the truth, and they even told me he had a stroke. I wouldn't even know. We sat at the table with him for a good hour talking about racing and fishing and just the Florida Keys and themselves. You know, it was real good to see Barney. It was kind of funny. Herschel, if people don't know, Herschel is Paul Herwick's dad, and Barney has a beautiful pool at his house. It's a saltwater pool. Josh, every pool down there is saltwater. Is that getting big up this way too?
Yeah, I mean, so the whole thing about it is it's really no different. If the salt water, I mean, you literally add bags and bags and bags of table salt into the pool, and maybe the pH balance is a little bit better or might feel better on your skin. But honestly, you're making salt water, and then that water, as it it goes through the filter and everything else, it goes through these little fins that are electrically charged, and it breaks the salt down to sodium and chlorine.
Is it cheaper than chlorine?
Um, I don't know price-wise. I don't think that it really is because, I mean,
Every pool down there was saltwater. Even the pools at a resort, they were all saltwater pools.
yeah.
And when Nancy told me, they're like, "Oh, let's go in the pool. They're saltwater." I don't like going in saltwater because when I get out, I feel weird with the salt all over me. But the pools weren't like that. Like if she didn't tell me it was a saltwater pool, I would have never even known.
It's not as salty as...
it didn't taste. Yeah, it didn't taste like salt. Like when I dried off, I didn't have like white salt on me or nothing.
No,
like
no,
that,
it's nothing like as salty as the ocean or the bay or anything like that.
Right.
But basically, it's still a chlorine pool. It's still disinfected the same way. It's just that it breaks the salt bonds into sodium and chlorine, and then so you're constantly chlorinating it that way, and then occasionally you have to add some more salt, a couple more bags or something like that.
Well, anyway, Barney's house, he had this beautiful saltwater pool, and the one corner was a hot tub. It had like the circular hot tub in the one side of the pool and everything like that. Well, Herschel, Paul's father, is like, "Check it out. There's a dolphin in the bottom of the pool." I'm like, "What the hell's he talking about? A dolphin in the bottom of the pool?" Well, it's a real nice tile pool. Like it's all tile. Well, they made a
tile
fish.
dolphin.
Yeah, but it wasn't even a dolphin. It was a swordfish. I'm like, Herschel, that's not a dolphin, dude. That's a swordfish, Yeah, so that was funny, And then when we took Herschel out to lunch, this kid Tyler I met through when I raced in Florida. He lives down that way, and his family's been sponsored by this Mrs. Mack's Kitchen. Like it's a famous little restaurant, kind of like your Lunchbox down in Watertown. Like the lady's been there since like 1946. This restaurant's been there, and it sponsored his race car. So we actually went to Mrs. Mack's for lunch, and I took Herschel to lunch, and there's pictures of race cars in there and everything like that. So that was cool. We supported a local race team while we were down there too, and went out to lunch. The only bad thing about the Keys is it's very expensive to go eat. The food's expensive down there. Everything else is pretty good. Like our hotel rates were pretty good. They're a little expensive down there. Gas is cheap down there. It was $2.35 a gallon for regular down there.
Okay.
But food's expensive. I mean, I bet we'd go out, Nancy would order an entree, and I would just get an appetizer. But Nancy would have a couple of drinks. It was always $60, $70 just for two people to go out for dinner or lunch. Like it's pretty pricey down there. And I didn't even get an entree. I got freaking appetizer. But like I said, but the food was good down there. We're not big fans of going out to eat in Florida because the Florida food's really not that good. But in the Keys, the food's really, really good. So it was very good eating down there. My favorite one was, if anybody's ever been to the Keys, the Isla Fish Company was really good. It was right on the water. They're famous for their sunsets too, because they're on the Gulf of Mexico side. That's where the sun sets. Sunrise is on the Atlantic Ocean. Sunsets on the Gulf of Mexico. So that's how people pick where they eat. They go to breakfast on the Atlantic Ocean side to see the sunrise. They go to dinner on the Gulf of Mexico side to see the sunset.
Huh.
I like the Isla Fish Company. It was real good there. They were famous for the tarpon. You ever hear of tarpon?
Yes.
Josh?
Yep.
Tarpon's a big fish. It's a sport fish, though. It's all hook, catch and release with the tarpon. They're huge fish. They're just a sport fish. They're no good to eat. You're not even allowed to take them. Once you catch them, you got to release them. Well, the tarpon swim right up to this restaurant, like right where you sit. The patio's like out over the Gulf of Mexico, and the tarpon just swim right in, right where you're eating. You can throw a piece of food over and they eat it. So they're real famous for the tarpon down there. We didn't catch any tarpon. I went fishing. I didn't catch any tarpon. I did catch a nurse shark and a bunch of jacks and stuff like that, but no tarpon. We seen the manatees. We seen 3 manatees. They swam right up to our resort. Yeah, they were real cool. They like fresh water.
Right,
If
yeah.
you're ever,
They usually go to the
if
springs
you're ever
and
standing
stuff,
on a
yeah.
boat dock where there's a freshwater hose and you see a manatee, like people think it's cruel. You squirt them with the hose. People are like, don't squirt them with the hose, but they love it. They love the fresh water. They'll actually come out of the water and you can squirt it right at their face and they'll drink it. Like they just love the fresh water, you know. So you ever seen a manatee and there's a hose around squirting them with the water? They love it. But my favorite restaurant of the whole weekend down there was in Marathon. That was the Island Fish Company. These places are all called fish companies, you know. Island Fish Companies. I really liked that place. That was my favorite. I was in Marathon. I had the lobster egg rolls. That's what I really liked. The lobster egg rolls were really, really good. That was my favorite food down there the whole time. I sent you guys pictures of the track food at the racetrack. You know, we always talk about the track food, so I sent you guys pictures of the menus. It's all Spanish food. You know, it was a lot of Spanish type food. Sunday, I was going to try that corn fritter sandwich or whatever with the mozzarella. I did watch them cook them. They look like a big pancake. That's exactly what it looked like, a big, thick pancake with corn and mozzarella in it. But we never went back Sunday, so I didn't eat one. But that girl we met from Philadelphia, we met her on like a Tuesday. So the races were already over. And I said, did you go all 3 days to the races? She's like, yeah, I went all 3 of the races. I'm like, did you try one of those corn fritter things or corn witches or whatever they were called? Yeah. She's like, yeah, I did. They were really good. She's like, it was like a big pancake with corn and mozzarella cheese in it. She said it was good. So I would try that. I would try. I was going to get one, but I just got a cup of coffee. That's all.
Do you think it would taste like a corn muffin or cornbread with cheese? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. They look pretty good though.
I'll try one. I'll see if Lunchbox can make one.
That place is open, right? Didn't you say it closed for a little while or something?
No, they might have closed early 1 or 2 days for some maintenance or whatever. But no, they think they're open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. I wish they were open later.
That's enough talking about my Florida trip, but I highly recommend that. If you guys ever want to go to Florida, the Keys are the place to go. We actually have a trip scheduled to Disney in October, and we're thinking about scratching that and going back to the Keys. I'd really like to go back to Key West. Dale Jr. has a house right in Key West. He was down there all weekend. His house was actually getting raised up, you know, elevated like around here when we were down there. I tell you what, man, we looked at the prices of houses when we were down there. We picked up like a couple of real estate books. You ain't touching nothing down there for under $500,000. There's 2-bedroom beach shacks for $500,000. Then I'm skimming through it. Then I got to the point where I was just looking at prices, you know. So I seen something $180,000. I'm like, oh, $180,000. I might be able to buy something like that. You know?
Was it an outhouse?
All it was a little space, concrete pad to park your camper. That's all it was. It was a concrete pad with sewer, water, and electric. No camper. Like, bring your own camper, you park it there. It was $180,000. I'm like, oh my God.
Could you do it as a timeshare, maybe?
A lot of people do it. That Airbnb stuff. A lot of people put a camper there. They'll hire some local to clean it, take care of it, and then you rent it out when you're not down there. But the problem is, one storm goes through there and the camper's
gone.
You know? Yeah. Another quick thing about the area where the racetrack's at, Josh, I've never seen nothing like this in my life. There was huge, tons of them, huge concrete plants, like this huge lakes, piles of sand, cement, concrete, conveyor belts. I'm like, what the hell is with all the concrete down here? I thought maybe there's some natural resource like in the sand there to make concrete or something. But talking to, let's face it, he was a bartender at a strip club we were at. We were talking to him. I said, what's with all the concrete plants around here? He's like, down here, you're not allowed to build a house out of wood. It's got to be like 80% concrete to be hurricane proof. So up here, it's all lumber companies because we built our house out of lumber. Down there, you can build a wooden house, but like 80% of it's got to be concrete before you go to the wood, like, big foundations and walls, and then maybe the roof's wood. You know what I'm saying? Like 90% of homes are concrete down there. So he told us that's why there's so many big concrete plants in there, because they use concrete to build houses. And he's the local that also told me how to get into the back way of the racetrack, because not only is he's the bartender at the strip club, he's also the cook for the press people at the racetrack. So he does he cooks like hot dogs and hamburgers for all the press people at the racetrack. So he's the one that told us to back away into the racetrack.
Not a bad side
Nice
gig.
guy. No.
Okay. All right. I wouldn't have guessed that though, at all. But
The strip club was called Woody's too, so it's just no
Oh,
different
gosh.
than going to Woody. They had food there, but we didn't try it. We
Who won the
Elliott Wall able to fill the hole.
who won the championship for the Cup race?
Well, that was a
Josh
shock
Murphy?
too, because I know what Tim's getting at. He knows who won their thing, but it's his favorite driver. Kyle Busch won the championship. But that was a whole other thing too, just like the truck race where no one talked about Matt Crafton winning. No one really talked about Kyle Busch winning that either. Down that way, it was either Truex or Denny Hamlin. And they talked it was pretty much a lock, either one of those two. And then I thought maybe Kevin Harvick was going to pull something crazy off because that whole weekend was sponsored by Ford, and he was the only Ford in the race. He didn't do much though, anyway. And Kyle Busch put a whooping on him, and he won that race.
well, there's something else. Is it odd at all? Because we're going to put our tinfoil hats on here. Nobody's talking about Kyle Busch, or whatever, but now you had a Toyota, a Ford, and Chevy, one each won a championship, and then Truex Jr. Had a pretty good race going. The car was pretty fast. He was pretty consistent. And I know he just didn't have quite enough at the end there. But, I mean, what's with putting tires on the wrong side of the car? I mean, have you ever and now here's the thing. I'm not saying it can never happen, but it very, very rarely happens to the point that I haven't seen it before, especially at the Cup level in such a high-stakes race with one of the top teams.
Plus, there you have the crew chief sitting high atop of the box watching everything. They got a little camera going to show it. Like, someone's got to say, hey, guys, I can see doing it at first and being like, oh, wrong tires and switching them. You know what I'm saying? But not like complete the stop and let the car leave the pits with the wrong tires on. Like, you have to notice it sooner or later. Don't you rate LR, LF on them like we do? You know what I'm saying?
It just seems like, I mean, how do you make that mistake? Again, when you combine all that
old saying, you had one job. Yeah.
What is it? That picture of Steve Buscemi all cross-eyed. I did it myself, or did the alignment myself.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, do you think somebody was paid to screw up and make? I mean, I don't think ultimately, because Truex finished second.
No, it happened earlier in the race, right? Like, he had time to make up for it.
I think it was closer to midway through the race that it happened. But I mean,
so
ultimately,
what happened, Josh? After they noticed what I didn't see it, but after they noticed that they made the mistake, did they bring him back down and change?
They called him right back in. So I think I don't think he even got a full lap, and they brought it back in and did another 4-tire stop because the lug nuts wouldn't be glued on. So they couldn't just swap the tires back around. So they had to get a whole new set and then do it the right way.
Right.
So he had to he lost all that time, and he made up the lap. He everything, all the ground that he lost, he did make it up and get back up there to finish second, which is incredibly impressive considering such a disastrous pit stop like that, or basically adding another green flag pit stop. But still, how does that happen?
But there again, because of the stage racing, he probably all the ground he lost on that, he probably made up when the stage was over.
Yeah. Oh, that definitely helped. But with how far, I don't know. It sucked. But I'm still, regardless of rooting for him or not, I just don't know how that happens to that tier of a team.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was one of these budget teams that were like a Starton Park or something like that, sure.
So what was the attitude when that happened? Was Martin flipping out in the car on the radio, or was it pretty calm about it?
Well, it was. I think it was. He didn't know. The car felt wrong. I mean, it didn't have to get very far to feel that something was wrong, and they're calling him back in. The tire's wrong, the wrong sides, and Yeah, I mean, they hardly got it. And I'm sure he was upset, but I don't think he talked too much on the radio other than how the hell do you screw that up? But I don't know. They got through it. They got past it, and they just didn't have enough speed at the end, which I guess is again considering.
Yeah, I think in the end it didn't make a difference.
No, I don't think that. Ultimately, I don't think it cost them the race, but it certainly was a unplanned setback and an unnecessary setback for them.
It definitely kills your buzz for a little while. That's for sure.
So I don't know if you just drive angry at that point or if you just that
What's
mistake.
funny about that? I'm sure the tire pressures weren't set right or anything, but I remember one of the tricks when I was younger and going to the Cup races. Like Dale Sr. would put 4 left side tires on his car and go out and do a fast lap just to make everybody else panic that he's so fast. And the reason why you would be faster on 4 left side tires than left sides and right sides
All
is
lower
because
pressure.
no, the left side tires are softer.
Okay.
They're a softer compound. They would make the right side tires a harder compound because that's what takes the most abuse going through the corners.
Okay.
But for a short run of 3 or 4 laps, you'll definitely be faster on left side tires all the way around. But I'm sure his tire pressures were set for a left.
Yeah.
Tires should be on the left side, and the right side tires had more, and now they're on the left, so the tire pressures weren't right.
The car had a little bit of a lean to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, just weird stuff that was going on in I don't know, just that whole race seemed weird to me. So other news, Kyle Busch is going to be running the Rolex 24.
I think that's awesome.
I think it's great, and this is one of all the people that call him crybaby and stuff all the time. Well, here's a chance to.
I know I wasn't going to talk about my Florida trip anymore, but the one thing I wanted to do when I was on vacation, but I was vetoed a big fat no, was while we were down there, there was a movie theater not far from our hotel. I wanted to go see that Ford versus Ferrari movie.
Okay.
Because I was playing down there, but Nancy's like, we're paying a lot of money to be on this trip, not to sit 3 hours at a movie theater,
Okay.
But when I did get home, I watched a movie called The 24-Hour War or something like that. It's called. It's also about Ford and Ferrari. It's a real cool movie. If you can't get to the movie theater to see Ford versus Ferrari, there's one right on Netflix or on demand or something. It's like The 24-Hour War, and they talk a lot about. This is why I'm talking about, because you just mentioned the 24 hours at Daytona. They talk a lot about the 24 hours of Daytona race in that, because that's kind of where they would go test. They used the 24 hours at Daytona and another one like out in California at Riverside Park. And basically that they were tune-up races before they went over to Le Mans,
Okay.
So it's kind of cool that Kyle Busch is doing that, because watching that documentary, you've seen a lot of old school race car drivers down there doing it. Like AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti, they were all racing those 24-hour races. So it's cool to see Kyle Busch doing that. It's kind of like a throwback thing,
Yeah. I didn't get far enough into what team or what division he's running, but I'm.
That's where it gets tricky, because does Toyota have a car and something like that?
I didn't follow up enough. This is where I'm a
Yeah,
terrible.
like
terrible
when Dale
host.
Senior, Dale Junior did it. They had that Chevy connection. They did it with the Corvette.
Yeah. Well, was it Sonoma when he backed into the wall and that thing burst into flames?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah, that was. I remember that was scary.
That's cool. I mean, it just shows that Kyle Busch is a true racer. I mean, not only does he do all these late model races, he tries to race truck, Xfinity Cup. They kind of make rules around him so he can't race in some divisions, and he's like, all right, you won't let me race here? I'll go do the 24 hours at Daytona. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. We'll see how it turns out. I mean,
plus another reason why I like seeing guys like do stuff like that is because now I have a reason to watch. I'll always watch the NASCAR guys when they go do something like that.
Well, otherwise you'd probably have it on the TV in the garage or something like that. But
yeah,
you're going to pay a lot more
I have
attention.
someone to follow.
Yeah.
Oh, Kyle's getting in the car now. I'm going to watch. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Another cool thing I did on the way to Florida and on the plane, I was reading the Cale Yarborough book, and the book about Cale Yarborough, and I just got up to the point where he went to Indy to race. So, I just got to that point. So back then, those guys did jump around a lot,
I just think it was easier, and there was so much more racing going on. I
Well,
mean,
the reason he did it, he was racing for Ford on the Cup side, and Ford got mad over that Hemi motor that Dodge and Mopar was allowed to race, and they kind of boycotted it, but they were racing Indy. So they took, Cale was a Ford factory driver on the Cup side, and Ford pulled out of Cup. So they still had to pay him on their contract. So they bought him the Indy to race a Ford over there, like a Ford Cosworth or something like that. So that was a pretty cool side story.
Something else I want to bring up: Suarez getting kicked out again, getting deported.
Yeah, we kind of seen that coming.
Just not performing.
They had that Cole Custer coming up. I mean, the kids were winning everything. Cole Custer's winning everything. They needed a place for him. I still think Daniel Suarez is gonna.
I was told, I didn't read it, but apparently it's not a secret. It's on, if you look for it, that Aris company was bought out by an American company. So that Aris is no more.
That's why I'm getting a new cable box.
Maybe.
I tell you what, they changed my cable, and now it's hard for me to find all the channels, man. I'm like relearning my cable again. But anyway, I read somewhere that he was disappointed. He either said he thought the deal was 90% done, or he said he's 90% funded, and he doesn't understand why he lost his ride. But if he's 90% funded, still he's going to find a ride somewhere. If he has no funding, I don't see him ending up anywhere. I think he's going to be the next one that disappears on us from the NASCAR scene.
Really, he doesn't. You don't see much. I know Bubba Wallace hasn't been a top performer either, but he still gets more TV time than Suarez gets.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, somebody's probably going to say the
really,
TV's
where
racist,
does Suarez go? He's been to two big teams. He raced for Gibbs and then he raced for Stewart Haas. I mean, where do you go from there? If you didn't make it, I mean, I'm not saying he didn't make it. He won a championship with Gibbs in the Xfinity Series, but I mean, he was already at Stewart Haas and he didn't win. So does he go back to a smaller tier team, like a front row or something like that, or does he just disappear without funding? I don't think he's going to end up anywhere. He didn't do enough. He didn't do enough at Stewart Haas for a guy like Hendricks saying, "Okay, we'll take him over here," or Gibbs saying, "Oh, we'll bring him back over here now."
Could he drop down?
Oh yeah, sure he could. But where do you go from there? Do you go to?
I think he needs a few years in trucks or something.
Well, I mean, he won the Xfinity Championship. Maybe he can go back to that. And why not right at Stewart Haas? Why don't you say, all right, well, you're bringing Cole Custer up to Cup to take my ride. Why don't you put me back in Cole Custer's Xfinity deal? You know what I'm saying? But then again, why would they? Because they use these Xfinity teams to bring up talent. Not to bring talent back.
Yeah.
Down,
so is somebody going to come up from trucks to fill Custer's seat there? Or yeah, I don't know. I think he's underperformed. I don't think he's a bad person. It's just, So I don't. With enough money behind him, he's going to go somewhere.
I think he finished. He's had good finishes. I just think it was to the point. If Cole Custer wasn't doing so well and they needed to move him up, they might have kept him for another year. But they had to do something with Cole Custer. He was just doing too good, and it was time to move him up. Cole Custer's dad is the guy that runs Stewart Haas, so they bought him up. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's a money thing behind it, like Tim says. I'm sure maybe his sponsorship deal dried up, and that was it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. There's something.
But then again, who knows? NASCAR might try to find him something because they like having a guy from Mexico in there because he's got such a good following down in Mexico, and it makes makes the umbrella of NASCAR bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a whole nother country watching it because, just how I said I might watch the 24 hours race because Kyle Busch is in here. You got all the people in Mexico watching the NASCAR races in Mexico because Daniel Suarez is in it. So they might try to place him somewhere too to keep that viewership,
Oh, I got to see if that French guy is still running in the truck series. You remember him? I forget his name.
Yeah.
I'll have to look. But French guy, so you would have figured he'd be all circuit racing, not oval track. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. no leads as to where he might go. Nothing was indicated or hinted at, so I think it's all up in the air.
He was almost acting surprised that he's not staying at Stewart Haas. Like he didn't have a plan B. He thought he was going to be there. So I think it might be a while before we hear what happens to him. Like it might happen. We might have to wait until like February before he knows what he's doing. You know.
Yeah. Well, we do know what's happening with Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. I read that when I was on the plane too. That kind of took me a little bit by surprise. I thought he was going to stick around 2 more years because that sponsorship is for 2 years, but he says next year is going to be his last year.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. I mean, we've talked
I just
about
because he had a 2-year sponsorship deal, then he's solid for 2 years. Just do the 2 years. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, I was gonna say more that he was doing or performing a lot better towards the end of this season. So hopefully he maybe make next season kind of your deciding thing. Like if it doesn't work out, but yeah, I thought he had a little bit more time.
Yeah,
but
I definitely I think he's cutting his career 1 year shorter than he should. If you got a full-time sponsor for 2 years, do the 2 years and see what happens. You know.
Yeah, if the funding's there, just go for it. But I mean, if it's right for his life, I mean, I'm not going to tell him what to do. I was a little surprised by it.
But who knows? His sponsor said, "Listen, Hendrick, we'll sponsor you for 2 years, but we want Jimmy Johnson's farewell tour because that's big attention for the sponsor, and then we want another year with the guy who's replacing him because that's more attention." You know what I'm saying? So they're getting 2 years of some major attention to their company. You know?
Yeah. I just now we're gonna have to go through all the through every racetrack having a big 48 painted on the wall somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's a little stale after a while. Tim, do you think Jimmy Johnson will win in his last year?
Yeah, why not? He can. I think he's got as good a shot as anybody else to win.
Josh, you think he gets a win in his last year?
I think one race. I think he'll win one race. I
think it's going to be one of those races where something goes his way, like a fuel mileage race or a restrictor plate race or something like that. I don't think he's going to come from like 10th and storm to the front and get a win.
I was actually thinking
the only way I don't disagree with what Scott said, but now he's kind of like in that lame duck situation where he's not going to have the cutting technology. They're going to give it to one of the other drivers first before he gets it anyhow. Just give him the basic setup and let him go. But he can win. I mean, how many wins does he have? He's got a lot of wins, right? Like 80-something?
Right. Well, I was thinking... sorry, Tim.
He can definitely win again. He can definitely win again is what I'm saying.
I did see something on Facebook. I didn't click on it, but there was a whole theory about why he hasn't won. And they said ever since that wreck at Pocono, he hasn't won. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
That makes sense, too.
He got a real bad wreck at Pocono, and he hasn't done nothing since. And they're saying ever since he's lost his edge because of that wreck.
That was the one when he had the wind knocked out of him, right?
Yeah, he hit real hard. And they had the whole stats like before that wreck and then after his wreck, and you can just see the decline right after that wreck. That's like when it all went south for him.
Wow. I never thought of it, but I guess. I mean, anything's possible. I was thinking more he might get a win, like kind of like Clint Boyer did at Martinsville.
Yeah, I mean, he runs good at Martinsville. Why not?
Yeah, I just, I mean, you have it's another race where, almost.
Dale Jr. won his last race too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of anybody's game there, and why not? I just think that could be a good place. I mean, I'm not saying it's definitely it.
It could be just a simple fact that he wakes up every morning and he looks outside and says, I own this beautiful house here. I believe they own a house in Colorado too, if I'm not mistaken. They own a couple houses, and doesn't he? He has a flat in New York City too, right? Doesn't he?
Yeah.
Why risk getting hurt? Maybe that was a wake up call to him.
Yeah.
At Pocono, said, I don't need to do this anymore. I made my money.
Speaking of retiring, did Greg Biffle win the Triple B 100 again?
Yeah, how come you didn't go to that?
Because it was that weekend. I was at Miami Homestead. We had planned this trip before they announced the date. And last year, that race was after Turkey Derby. The Triple B 100 was after Turkey Derby, so we were hoping it was going to be in December again. And when they announced the date, it was the same weekend as Championship Weekend in Miami. We thought for sure it wouldn't be that weekend. That's why we thought it would be booked to go down there. And when they announced that it was that weekend, we already had plans to go on this trip, so we weren't able to make it to Greg Biffles this year. He was messaging us, though. He was messaging Nancy and saying, you guys coming this year? You guys coming this year? And we just said, no, we can't make it this year. We're going to the championship weekend down in Miami. Yeah, 10 cars. I did watch a video of it. They had 10 cars there.
Yeah. Did Greg Biffle win?
Yeah, he won. Of course.
It's rigged. I did watch some of the videos of that.
He's hitting on Twitter.
Well,
I don't know.
Didn't he bring his gear to Daytona this year?
Yeah, something like that. He said big news coming for 2020. He's put on Twitter, but that's all he said. I haven't heard nothing.
Oh, that was fun. Looking at the truck race and talking about Crafton winning without getting a win in a single race. The one meme was Craig Biffle had more truck wins this year than the championship winner.
It's the truth, too.
All
right, guys, we've already been on here for an hour. We want to move on to Turkey Derby. We want to do a quick Turkey Derby preview. Big weekend for us. This is the time of the year we wait for. This is the biggest race at Wall Stadium. A lot of buzz going on about the races this weekend. They had 2 practice sessions the last 2 Saturdays. They were very well attended by a lot of race cars.
Good weather, too.
Yeah, the weather was good. My brother did attend both practices. He did watch what was going on out there. Josh, but we always talk about it, too. We talked about it when we had Mike Hager on from Bethel about practices, how it draws people who just want to drive their race cars. You know what I'm saying? We always say on Thursday nights they should have open practice from 6 to 9, charge you $50 a car or something like that to come practice. I mean, I did notice in some of the pictures there were some cars out there we haven't seen in a while. It's like people just drag them out because they want to drive them. If they come back and race Turkey, that's great. But if they don't, they got to go practice their car a little bit. You know, it'd be like if your car was ready, you'd be like, cool, I'll drag it over here.
Yeah, instead of getting it destroyed or something like that, I can run and practice and I can have a little fun.
And if the car runs pretty good, then you're like, I'll give Turkey Derby a try. If it's running horrible, you put it back on your trailer and leave it behind your house again. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, Turkey Derby is going to be huge. I mean, Ryan Preece just announced the other day that he's going to be racing a modified there.
That's right.
We have Cup driver Ryan Preece coming.
F that guy.
Yeah, Justin Bonsignor, he just announced he's one of the top runners on the modified tour. He's coming. He's bringing his tour car there to race the modified tour portion of Turkey Derby. Of course, we got Jimmy Blewett, Blake Barney. The Barneys are bringing 2 race cars. Eric Morello is driving the other tour type car. So that's 2 cars that can win. I mean, Danny Bowen's coming up with his tour type modified. Earl Pauls from out in Pennsylvania, he's coming. Timmy, know anybody else? Do you know if Timmy Solomito ever got a ride going for Turkey Derby?
No, Ronnie Silk's coming.
Oh, is he? Ronnie Silk's another one that can win. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, Andrew's flying over there with his tour type modified. Andrew Cross is another one that can easily win over there, you know.
Chase Down is going to be there in Danny Watts' car.
Oh, that's a good car. Dave Sapienza, he's making his return to racing.
I'm looking at Moriella, Hirschman, Sapienza, Zane Ziner, Ricky Collins, Chaz Okerson, Jonathan Mandato. There's a whole bunch of names here. I'm not even going to go through them all, but yeah.
Well, that sounds like the Wall modifieds.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but Dave Sapienza is returning the race, and he got hurt at the modified tour race at Wall Stadium, the NASCAR modified tour race at Wall Stadium. He hasn't raced since, and he was in practice. Tim, how'd he look in practice? I saw his lap times were very good.
He looked okay. He was there the first week, if I remember right, and he looked good. I think Chase Dowling looked good the first time. The first week, the scoreboard wasn't real accurate for some reason. It worked much better the second week, so I was kind of just going by the way they looked. Of course, Jimmy looked good. Jimmy looked really good in the wall mod the first time, and then the second time he looked better in the tour car looked better the second time around, but he took him both home and did some more adjusting on them. So he said he made them even better. So we'll see how they go. Andrew Krause was fast. Just he had 2 cars there the second practice, and he was 1 and 2 with those. So
I thought I saw a picture on the racetrack with both those cars on the racetrack. Do you know?
yeah, apparently him and the crew chief guy took the other one out. Rob Heyer, I think it was.
Rob Heyer took one car. Oh, that's cool.
That's what I was told. I don't know that for a fact. I think they took them out there together to take pictures of them and stuff. Like they didn't.
Right. Photo op.
Yeah, they didn't go very fast in them.
All right, guys. With that said, let's make some race winning predictions. I kind of want to do every division that races Turkey Derby. Let's just make quick picks on who we think is going to win. Let's start with the modified tour portion of Turkey Derby. It's very hard to bet against Jimmy. Jimmy and the Bluets do a great job of Turkey Derby and winning Turkey Derby. But I'm going to go out on a limb this year and say Ryan Preece wins the modified tour portion of Turkey Derby this year.
I hope. Go ahead, Tim.
Good. It's a good pick, Scott. But I don't know if you know it or not. He's going to use a Chassis Dynamics car there.
Oh Jesus, scratch that.
So, I'm not. If anybody can win the CD car, it's Ryan. But
I don't think a Chassis Dynamics car has ever won it. Well, no, Donald used to have Chassis Dynamics cars.
Tommy Mauser had a chassis car. Remember all those green car that he had? Wasn't that a CD car?
We're going back to the 80s and 90s.
Well, yeah, we are, but
not much has changed.
You know what? I'm not going to change my pick. I'll go with Ryan Preece because that's a survival race anyway. You don't have to be the fastest race car on the racetrack.
Well, yeah, if you look at how the tour race went earlier this year, if you can make it to the end, you got a shot.
Right. Maybe I'll pick Danny Bone with that steering box in his modified.
All right, Josh, go ahead. You go next. Modified tour race.
Bonsignor.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm going to go with Ronnie Silk. He's the last half of the tour season. There was no better driver. They were the fastest every week. So I'm going to go with him. He should have won that race last at Seekonk a couple weeks ago when him and Matt Hirschman got into it. So I'm going to say him.
Do you know what car he's driving, Tim?
The car they're driving the 50, Bob Horn's car.
The car runs good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so my pick is Ryan Preece. Josh is going with Justin Bonsignor, and Tim with Ronnie Silk for the modified tour portion.
Josh, you should write this all down, Josh.
Oh, geez. Hang on. Let me pull up a thing.
And we'll move to the Wall Stadium modifieds. And once again, Jimmy's always a force in that, man. He really runs good. He wins quite a bit in that division. So Jimmy's the easy pick. I mean, I can simply sit here and pick Jimmy, but I kind of want to stir the pot a little bit. I'm going to pick Stephen Reed, our Wall Stadium chief. The reason I'm picking Stephen is I'm pretty sure Stephen's only racing the Wall modified portion of Turkey Derby. He doesn't have a tour type modified, and I think because his concentration is on the one division, I think that he's going to have the upper hand in that, where a lot of people are running both. So I'm going to go with Stephen Reed.
Okay.
All right, Josh.
Hang on. I'm still typing all the other stuff up.
All right.
You go ahead, Tim.
Well, I would actually have to say that Jimmy, if he doesn't wreck, is going to win that race. But if we're not picking Jimmy, we're picking other people.
No, you can pick Jimmy. You can pick Jimmy. That's the easy pick. So I just wanted to go out on a little something different.
Yeah, but I honestly think that if he doesn't, he'll win that race because that car is like that good. I think.
Put Tim down for Jimmy Blow it. Another thing, Josh, my second pick was Eric Mariello in both the tour type and the mods.
All right, so your
Eric's
backup pick?
Yeah, well, I'm just giving you a hint, Josh, if you want to go that route. But Eric Mariello is always a solid pick. Too.
My backup pick would be the X3. I think Shannon's driving it. I could be wrong on that. Al Camp's car. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's a great car.
All right, so Tim, who was your first? You were picking Jimmy.
Yeah, I think
for the Wall mods.
Yeah,
Ron Silk for the tour.
Yeah,
I probably should pick Cecily. I'm spotting for him.
Are you spotting for Cecily in both divisions, or
yes,
Wall mods and the tour mods?
Yeah.
Okay.
My pick for the Wall mod is Andrew Krause.
That's a good pick. Yeah, that's a good pick.
He knows the track. He's a smart driver. I think he really is.
He's
learned a lot on the tour too. He's learned a lot by racing the tour. So coming back to Wall, I think he's definitely a better driver now from having tour experience.
I don't know, just from racing side by side with him and watching what he can do on the outside is pretty good. What division next?
Wall Sportsman. I am gonna go with Wall Sportsman. Man, that's a tough one. I'll go with Kyle Sisko. How about that?
Okay.
Wall Sportsman.
X3, Al Cam's car. I think Shannon Monto's driving it.
Shannon's driving it.
Tim is going to go with Shannon.
Spot for anybody Sportsman division, Tim?
I don't know. Neil Rudd texted me about a half hour ago before we were doing the podcast.
Uh-huh.
I texted him back, and he hasn't answered me, but that's typical of him.
Yeah, Josh.
As of right now, no. Anybody looking for a spotter for that, let me know.
So, so do we know if Neil is running the Sportsman?
Yeah, he's racing. Yeah.
He was there for practice.
Okay.
He was there for practice.
Then I'm going with Neil.
Okay.
All right. Now for what division next?
Late models.
Okay.
That's a tough one because sometimes you get some out-of-state guys. I really don't know who's going to be there.
Is
a lot of
Shannon running?
Yeah, Shannon's running.
He was there for practice. Yeah. I wouldn't even know any of the guys' names.
You got Tillett and Shannon. And is Greg Miranda running?
Yeah, but you never know. You get a couple of Riverhead guys there. You know, some of these Riverhead guys show up. Who knows? Zane Ziner can be there with a late model too.
Yeah, you don't know. That's potluck. Yeah,
I really don't know because I don't know who's going to be there, and I wasn't at any of the practices, so it's hard to pick the late models because I don't know who's going to race it. But I might as well go with
those Riverhead guys. They come down. They run pretty good.
Yeah, they run good, and Zane Ziner's got a fast late model that he races out in Pennsylvania. You know, who knows? You can have a Southern late model guy show up too and give Shannon a run. But for right now, because I'm not sure who's in that race, and Shannon wins all the time, and he's got a super fast late model, and he knows the track very well. And he's another one like Jimmy. He always gets a win some way somehow at Turkey Derby. So I'll go with Shannon.
I'm going with Shannon as well.
Me too. Why not?
Okay. All right. Next division.
What else? Dirt modifieds.
Let's get through our regular stuff first, then we'll get to the
Legend cars.
Okay.
I wanted Herbie to win 53.
What is that, Alcaro?
Yeah, he does good. I'm going to go with Mike Alcaro too. That's another tough one. You never know who's going to show up. There could be somebody showing up from California. They get 40 cars at Turkey Derby. They get them from all over the country, you know. But I'll go with Mike Alcaro. He knows the track good, and he wins a lot there.
He's very good. Roger's not going to have his car ready. I'm trying to think. Who else do I like?
Robert French. Or is that he don't race Legend cars anymore?
He races Walmarts now.
Yeah, Walmarts now.
Who are you?
Chris Gall.
That's what I was thinking. Is he gonna be back in it?
Yeah.
He's running that 23, right?
Yeah, that's a good car.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go with Chris Gall. Why not? He's due for something, right? 4 cylinders?
That's a tough one.
I'll tell you right now, I'm going with Rutt.
Yeah, that's a good pick. 4 cylinders. See it there again. I don't know who's racing, you know?
Yeah.
Tim, you got a 4-cylinder pick?
I was going to pick Neil Rutt myself.
I'll mix it up a little bit. I'll go Jeffrey Loesch.
Okay. That's a good one.
They actually race twice. So you got to do 2 picks on them. They race Friday Friday and Sunday. I'll go with Jeffrey Loesch on Friday, and let's see here. I don't know if Ronnie Mullins racing because he wants to go that 16 car too. I'll go for Jeffrey Loesch for both days.
Yeah, I'm going both days of my driver too. We got to pick it. Do we think it's going to rain Sunday or not? Because it don't look good for Sunday.
Are we going to take a poll on that as well?
just looked before 90% chance of rain on Sunday, and I don't know what the game plan. Tim, what do you think the game plan is if it rains out Sunday? It's just a wash and she doesn't rebook it and refunds the money, or do we go into the next weekend?
Monday.
I think
I need a day off.
It's supposed to rain Monday too. I look Monday.
I think if as long as they get both the modified races in on Saturday,
that's the
I
bulk
would
of the
have.
show.
Yeah, that's all of anybody. I know it's not. I shouldn't say any. That's what everybody's there to see, supposedly, or to go to, or to pay for. You might not see anything. That might just be a wash. If you guys even get your money back, I don't know about that, but
Well, they got the
Maybe
demo derbies too, right?
Yeah, I know. We
Sunday-
might be able to use,
I don't care what anybody says. Sunday's the best day to go. The racing's really good. It's cheap. It's fun, and the demo derbies are great. I
And
love
you're
going.
out of there
We'll be-
earlier.
We'll
And
be
it
there
seems
on
like-
Sunday.
and it seems
Great
like the
racing.
high tension, high pressure races are over. Now it's just like
Yeah.
the fun races, you know?
Now you just sit there and you watch the races. You know.
Right.
If Sunday races, we will be there. I don't know. The weather just doesn't look that good.
It looks worse. It was 80% at the beginning of
Yeah.
the week, and now it's up to 90%.
I
Well,
don't
put
even
the-
know if she
Put the
the
treaded
races
tires
are
back
good.
on. We'll go.
can she even race further into the season.
I don't know. I really don't know how. And I heard a few people ask her, and she just says she's just hoping it doesn't rain out. that's like her answer.
I don't even know. Technically, her lease might be done after Turkey. You know, I don't know when.
I might.
I don't know when the lease runs to.
Might be one of those deals. You just use your wristbands next year or something like that. You know.
Well,
Who
wasn't
knows?
it? Wasn't there an issue with the racetrack is supposed to be April to whatever?
November? Yeah.
Yeah, but or Turkey Derby was kind of
Technically-
like the one thing that was grandfathered in.
And technically, Sunday is the 1st of December, correct?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see. You know.
All
I
right.
hope they race because best day to go.
No,
All right. Moves us to the factory stock division.
yeah,
Would it be wrong for me to pick myself?
I'm not saying it's wrong, but how good do you
I
think
tell
your
you what,
chances
I think we're going to have a ton of factory stock races there, and I don't think the fastest car is going to win. The only thing, well, it might because the
It's
fastest
going to
car
be track position.
track position, and I think it's going to be all depends where you start in that race and how they do the starting lineup. I mean, Brian O'Shea's hard not to pick. He was flying in those practices. I'm going to go with Brian O'Shea on Friday and Scott Riggleman on Sunday.
Okay, so O'Shea and Riggleman.
The only reason I'm going with myself is my car ran really good at Spooky. And the last 2 Turkey Derbies, I finished in the top 3. So I've been hanging around there. We'll see what happens.
I'm going with O'Shea for Friday and Elliott for Sunday.
Okay.
I don't
I'm
want
gonna
him to
go
win, but he is fast.
I'm going to go with Ryan Flores for Friday and Uncle Scott for Sunday.
Flores, Riggleman. All right. Now, honestly, I'm going to be honest. Other than I'm trying to think like the dirt, the outlaw stocks.
There was only 3 of them at the practice,
I'm trying to get mine done. We're going to put Fancy Nancy in that race.
and one was like a pretty much. And I know the kid's name, Scott, and
Todd
you know him
Dietz.
too. Yeah,
Todd.
he's in a league of his own.
Yeah.
The other one was it looked like an old Lee Allen. It was the white and red Malibu that they had.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't you
Yeah,
know
it
who bought that car?
Who?
Steve Mangano. That was who
Oh,
was
did he?
driving that car. Yeah, Steve
Oh,
Mangano
okay.
was driving. Yeah, we grew up
Because,
with Stephen Farmingdale.
Yeah. It's got 22s on it now.
Yeah.
Hell, he
his
didn't
dad.
do hor- he,
22.
he didn't do horrible for never being in a car before or
Yeah.
anything.
No.
I didn't even know who was in it. I was getting ready to say the guy did really good, but he's not in the league of that other guy.
Yeah.
And then there was another car there that was like
26 Camaro, right?
yeah, he could stay with him with the other guy a little bit,
Yeah,
but
that's Joe Parker. That's Joe Parker. He races
Yeah.
Doros with us down in Bridgeport, but he also races outlaw stocks at Bridgeport as well.
I thought Lee Allen would have his there, but I guess
Yeah,
not.
for some reason he doesn't go to that. But I'm trying hard. I got tomorrow, and I'm going to work on the 41 car all day on Thanksgiving. The car I had up at Bethel and my Enduro car, we're going to enter as an outlaw stock. They don't get many cars. They're lucky if they get 10 or 11. So we figure why
Well,
not?
I figure Rob Longo might be running in Orange Crush.
Right.
Felber's going to be running in the
Felder will be
357.
there. Yeah.
So I mean that's.
I'm sure Darren Cox will be there too. He won last year. I know his car got tore up a little bit the last race down at Bridgeport, but I'm sure he'll be there. I'll go with Darren Cox. Tim,
Okay.
you want Todd Deej?
Sure. Yeah, what the hell?
I was going to go with Todd as well. I think he's
Okay.
because he played around with a Sportsman and a 4-cylinder before. So
Yeah. Plus, I watched. I tow for Todd. Todd's a mechanic, and he works on cars out of his shop.
Mhm.
And I took cars over there for him, and I watched him build that car. Let me tell you, that thing's practically a late model. It's a model on it. That's what that thing is. But you never know. I'm going over there with DOT tires. Todd and them are running
the dirt tires.
the dirt tires, and sometimes they don't hold up. Sometimes they go flat. So you never know.
Yeah.
Josh, for the Sunday 4-cylinders,
Okay.
put in mind for honorable mention. I want the guy with the shark fin on top of his car to win. Cause
Was that the weight 15?
yeah, he was there for
tell you what,
practice again.
Tim, that guy's no joke. He's the guy that won that race at Bethel I was in.
He flies, man.
He flies. That thing's fast. He might win. I don't know if he'll pass Tech, but he'll win. But yeah, no, I raced with. I actually parked next to him up at Bethel, and he won the 4-cylinder race up at Bethel, and he won the enduro race at Bethel. That car's fast.
Wow.
Yeah,
There's actually two of them. There was a 15 and another. They looked exactly.
I believe those was a 15 when it was there.
Yeah, the one that won was a 15. I think there's a number 31 too. It seems spray paint numbers on the side and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't know he was there, Tim. He's fast. He's a good driver too.
And then the only thing is the dirt modified. I think.
Well, dirt sportsman and dirt modifieds, right? But I honestly don't know anybody unless Blewett or Andrew.
If
Oh yeah, Andrew's a good pick on that one.
If there was different cars in the pits for practice, they put them all together. There wasn't two divisions out for practice.
Right.
And it was only like 6 of them.
Okay.
And Andrew was clearly the class of the field. And the second car that I think was Cody Kessler. Those two were the two best cars. So
I'll go with Andrew. Unless Jimmy's driving one of Horton's cars. Is Jimmy driving?
I asked Jimmy that. Let's see, what's today? Today's what? Monday?
Mm-hmm.
I asked him on Friday because I ain't heard from him yet. But that guy, you never know. He might show up with it. He just might show up with it, and I'll drive. If he shows up with it, Jimmy will drive it. But he hasn't heard from him.
So that's for the dirt mod or the dirt sportsman?
That's a modified.
Okay. All right. So
I also heard Josh, another guy we raced with, Scott Marr Jr. I heard he's bringing his sportsman there to run Turkey Derby. I'm going to go with Andrew Krause, dirt mod, and I'm going to go with Scott Marr Jr. for the sportsman.
Okay. Okay. I got that.
I have no idea who's even there in the sportsman. So,
wouldn't that be Kessler?
Maybe. I don't know what division he's going to run in.
Well, let's see who he's going to dive bomb this year. I'm sorry. That move stood out as so bad. I can't let it go. Yeah, I'll go with Kessler for the
TQ midgets. We haven't done that. Is Ryan Flores racing his TQ too, Tim?
Yes, he was there for practice. He did spin out twice. He definitely has speed. But he did spin out twice. So, yeah, they were all there. All the normal guys were there. Yes.
Ronnie?
I'm gonna go for whoever's driving.
Ronnie had engine trouble.
Yeah, I know, but he put on Facebook a couple buckets full of.
He put two together to make one. Yeah.
I'm gonna pick who is ever driving Lenny Boyd's car.
That's 1AB or something like that.
Yeah.
So isn't that usually Tidman?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Ooh, I want to go with Kyle Tarasca.
Okay.
Wait, Scott, you were going with Tidman then?
Yeah, whoever's driving Lenny Boyd's car.
Okay. Tim?
Ryan Flores.
Okay. So, Tim, who was your dirt mod pick?
I'm gonna have to say it's gonna be Andrew.
Okay. And then, did you have a dirt sportsman or just leave that blank?
We'll go with Kessler because I don't. You say he's a sportsman. He's a sportsman.
That's what I
don't
thought he
know.
was.
He very well could be. Like I said, they put them all together. I think for practice, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. I don't know if Mangiello's running this year or not. Or I think he ended up just working on the cars now.
Yeah, I don't know. They have, like I said, 5 or 6 of them.
I know there was one guy from Bethel there because he towed with a red pickup and a beautiful red open trailer, and I seen him at Bethel when I went up there and raced, and I seen him in the pits. So he's a guy that runs a lot of asphalt, but I'm not sure if he's a sportsman or a modified either.
Okay.
I mean, that's a hard race to pick because sometimes you get guys down from Airborne Speedway where they race dirt cars on asphalt weekly, and they come down and run very good too. But Andrew seems to be hooked up with that too.
I'm surprised. Like what was it like? Dwight Laird, I think it was used to, or was it Dwight? I think he used to run. Yeah.
You know what makes that race hard for them to draw cars? Accurate up in New York,
Yeah.
they have a big Thanksgiving race weekend where all these dirt guys go to that race.
Oh, actually, Garback. I don't know if he's a guy. I remember he shared his post from Turkey Derby a year or two ago when.
Yeah, he might be there because he's kind of like teammates with Scott Marr Jr.
Right.
I know they race together, so he can possibly be there as well.
I remember.
I love watching the dirt mods on wall. It's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah, it's a good race.
When they crash, they are able to crash pretty darn hard. Or more so than they're used to, I think.
They almost look like they're too big for the wall at Wall
Yeah,
Stadium.
yeah.
Don't they? Like they're higher than the wall, you know?
They're just big boxes of steel.
Cool.
They are fun to watch, but I will say Andrew Krause has to be my pick there, as we already talked about, just because, I mean, he can make that high side work, and I don't know, he just knows how to drive that car around there. But I think it's the asphalt experience. But they are fun to watch. They really are, and I hope they get a good group. I actually got my wristbands for Friday and Sunday. I'm probably going to get just a regular grandstand ticket for Saturday.
I'll be racing Friday, operating my tow truck on Saturday, and racing again on Sunday. That's my weekend schedule.
Well, I wish I could ride with you.
And again, Nancy rides with me. We call that the Riggleman Towing Suite. We'll park the high above turn 3 in the heated Riggleman Towing Suite.
And you don't have to wear a helmet the whole time, right?
Nah, gotta wear an orange vest though.
Okay. Well, I think that's the least of your worries.
Yeah.
How bad was it when you had to wear the helmets the whole time for the tour?
It wasn't bad. We used like we actually got John Connon owns Seaside Scooters. You know, he rents the scooters down at Seaside. He actually bought us the scooter helmet that people have to wear on the scooter, so it wasn't bad wearing it. You know,
Okay.
It's not like a full face helmet. You know, we're wearing a scooter like a bike helmet. You know.
Okay.
All right, guys.
So that's our picks.
That wraps up our Turkey Derby picks. That moves us to what have we learned?
All right, I'll let Tim go first with that.
Everything I need to know about having to go to Key West or wherever the hell he went. I know everything. You know, I'm a travel agent for Key West. What else do I need to learn tonight? Hour and a half talking about conch shells.
Don't eat the conch. It's a big slug in the bottom of the ocean.
All right, Scott, what'd you learn?
I learned don't wear rainbows down in Key West. That's for sure.
Well, maybe you
Or
get
anything
lucky.
that resembles a rainbow.
All right, today I learned that manatees enjoy squirting. I learned that strip club bartenders know the building codes in Florida and the back way into the track. And I learned that Aris got bought out, and now Scott has to relearn his TV channels. So that's all I got. This was a fun one. We'll be back hopefully next Monday, or
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday. I mean, we all might have the Turkey Derby hangover on Monday night. We might have to push it to Tuesday, but we'll play that by ear. And I do want to announce that we'll be doing this all winter long. So definitely check in with us all winter long. What we want to start doing is we want to do something called the Local Racing Legend Series, where we invite some past racers on to interview them, kind of like Where Are They Now type segment.
Right.
We want to get guys like Dave Michael, Brian Sisko, Gil Hearn, Charlie Kremer Jr., Tommy Mauser. If anybody's interested in calling in, former champions at Wall or people that raced at Wall or anywhere in the area, even East Windsor, Flemington, wherever, we definitely want to do something like a couple segments like that over the winter while there's not much racing going on. We thought that'd be real cool and a lot of fun. That's something we're looking forward to doing in the winter. So we're not going anywhere. I noticed a lot of the racing podcasts I listen to, like Dale Jr. and all them, they're all kind of like on a hiatus right now. So I don't want to do that. I want to keep going all winter long, and we'll bring in some good interviews. If any of our local racers have anything they want to announce, sponsor wise, ride wise, what they're doing next year, message my brother on Facebook. He'll set you up and get you on the show. And we just want to keep it going. We want to have a real fun Turkey Derby this weekend, and we'll be back next weekend. So that wraps up episode 158, and thanks for joining us. Go to Wall.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we still have to do the show from Blewett's shop that he invited us to do.
Waiting on that.
So, I mean, you'll hear me crack a beer, and then you'll hear a wrench drop in the background. That's what's going to change.
We've actually talked about that. The thing is, we got to figure out how to Wi-Fi from the house to the garage, or you make a real long extension cord.
Yeah,
for some reason, I don't know if it's the power lines that go across Blewett's or all the scrap metal there, but it's tough even getting cell phone service at the junkyard and over at Jimmy's shop, especially at Jimmy's shop.
Is there any? If we can get a plug-in, like a Ethernet wire, then we'd be good. But so we'll figure all that out. It's one of those things we're going to work on, I'm excited about Turkey Derby. And
what about motorsports this year, Josh? You think we're going to do motorsports again this year?
I'm going to get in touch with Dan Thomas and see what his plans are for that, and hopefully we can do that, because I think that's usually early to mid-January, and I know that we're probably going to take a week or two off, like the Christmas, New Year's thing. But otherwise, through the winter, when it's cold and dreary out for everybody else, we'll still be doing the show, and we got Formula E and other stuff going on, and honestly,
there's always stuff going on.
Yeah.
There's always stuff going on. Talking about racing,
we're practically in December at this point, and we have the Rolex in February and Daytona, and it's going to come around fast. And plus, we got Atlantic City and all the other indoor stuff in Trenton.
Yeah.
So we're going to be
Scott,
busy.
Do you know of anybody camping at Turkey Derby?
Jim Davison. Former legend driver. Yeah, I know he's camping. I know Kevin Beesterfield always comes up and camp. Jeff Green's already talking about going over there tomorrow.
Elizabeth and the twins are they asked Daddy if they knew anybody that was camping. So if anybody that's camping, let me know. They want to come over and hang out for a little bit if we're welcome. And there were 41 trailers in the pits tonight. I rode over there to do a little podcast research. So there was no campers there, but there were 41 trailers in the garage in the pit area.
Jeez.
So Turkey Derby was Tuesday, and there's already 41 cars in there. So, and that's modifieds and sportsmen.
I'm gonna have all the other divisions are allowed to bring their stuff Wednesday after 11 a.m. So I'm gonna try to get my stuff over there by noon. I gotta get up early in the morning, get everything loaded, and get it over there.
Yep. So Dave Zappienza is already over there. Jimmy Blewett's got 2 haulers over there. Chase Down, Danny Watts haulers already over there. So the big names are coming.
And it's pretty cool to see around 4 o'clock. I seen 2 Earl Pauls.
Yeah, Earl Pauls. That one trail he's got's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really long.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, lettered and everything.
Sorry, Scott just said it was
he's
really
another
long.
one that can. He's another one that can potentially bring a late model and run good too. You just never know.
He had 2 trailers there. I thought that one trailer was long enough that he could have 2 modifieds in that.
But you got to remember, he's got a tour type modified. He's got a Wall Stadium type modified, a 2-power modified. Plus, he has a crate modified that he races at Mahoney. So who knows? He might have a wall mod, tour mod, and a crate mod, or he might have a late model on one of those trailers. See, if he had an open trailer like me and you, Josh, we would know what kind of race cars he had over.
Well,
There
only
was
the
one
cool
open
guys
trailer.
have the open trailers.
One open trailer tonight. That was the Bull.
Oh, yeah.
Adam.
I think. Well, doesn't Hirschman tows on an open trailer, right?
No.
No. No. Hearn. I'm sorry.
Jason Hearn. Yeah, Jason Hearn.
It started with an H. Sorry, I got thrown off.
All right, guys. 10:34. Thanks for joining us. That wraps up episode 158 of the RPM podcast. Enjoy Turkey Derby, everybody.
Go to Turkey
Go to
Derby.
Turkey Derby. All 3 days.